Hello, how are you? I hope you're good. Welcome to the new project video. This time around, we're kind of checking, or just also kind of having fun. If closest friends who are also readers of mine, if they can kind of predict what I'm gonna like and also what kind of books they pick for me, what I think of them. So I've asked 5 of my closest friends to voice message me and tell me what book they want me to read. Maybe they are saying that for different reasons, but I think most of them are gonna pick something that they think I would like, knowing my taste. So first of all, a massive thank you to those friends. If they do have platforms, I will link them down below. So they know me the best, I rely on them the most, and they've gotten me through very hard times, and they mean a lot to me basically. So definitely check them out as well. The last note actually just came in today, so I'm going to go and listen to this right now and see what's on the horizon for Miss. For me. We don't go the same places that we used to go. I'm gonna start in the order that they send the notes to me. I think that Codie sent hers first. If I had to guess what she's gonna give to me, I'm wondering if it's possibly maybe another Beckman book. Either her or AJ could possibly have given me The Way of Kings. Would not be too surprised. I think that AJ won't do that, but Codie could have, or Codie could have given me something entirely different. So, why am I nervous? Because I have to read all of these, and also if they're massive, then you might be seeing this like 5 months later. 6. It is 6 months later. But
hello. So, are you ready for my pick? After much consideration, I'm going to go with one that I've recommended to you a few times, so this is probably expected, but it is, drumroll please. I'm just creating some suspense here.
Oh no.
Are you loving it? Okay, it is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, book 1 in the Farseer trilogy. I had to. I have a good feeling you love this. Robin Hobb is one of my favourites. I feel like she has the potential to be one of yours. I hope you love it. And also good luck with the pain. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, I should have guessed this. But I do actually have an illustrated edition, so I'm excited to. Oh, now I'm starting another massive series. Why, Codie? But I might love it. But I'm excited. This is a high fantasy story that is also written by one of the most recognized female high fantasy writers. So, and I do already have it. Actually has a ribbon. Fancy, I didn't even notice that before. What is this? 430 pages? That's Codie's pick. Then the second one, I believe, would have been AJ. Let me scroll all the way up to find it now. Ooh.
Hello, Book Roast and the Roastlets. My recommendation for you is Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang. M.L. Wang is an American author of Asian heritage, and this book is very much an Asian-inspired setting. I think it would be a good read for you for a few different reasons. The magic in it is not heavy rules-based. It is very light but easy to understand.
That's good. He knows I struggle.
Also, the core magic that is used by the protagonist is very similar to waterbending. So you might find it familiar in some ways in how it can be used and applied. Also, on top of that, I think the characters are dynamic, and their relationships to each other are all really interesting. There are 2 point of views in the book, and it is a mother and son, and seeing them interact and also seeing them interact with the people around them is just really fascinating and enjoyable to read. All the characters are distinct and enjoyable in their own ways. Although there is this action and magic fantasy element in it, the core of the novel is emotion and philosophy, and it's just really interesting to see. I think I'll give you one small flaw, just so the hype train doesn't run away completely. You can go with somewhat
like the preparedness for this.
Expectations. I think something you won't like a couple of times, especially early on, there are some info dumps. Is quite blatant. Oftentimes it is a character just telling a story of the past to another character, but it is an info dump nonetheless.
Okay.
Can be quite tough to get through sometimes, but once you're past that, it's back to the good stuff. And yeah, I hope you really enjoy it, and I'm interested to see what you think.
Okay, so we have this one. 612 pages! Really excited about this. I do know that lots of people really loved it. That obviously is very exciting. Very intimidated currently, but everything that he mentioned sounds really good because I do like emotional driven stories and character driven stories and an elemental magic. So I can definitely see why AG picked this. I'm just very scared now. Next one then is Merphy, I believe. So let me listen. Oh, which one was it? Oh no. I honestly couldn't even guess what AG would have been like recommending to me because we speak about it all the time. So I did not know. Kind of same for Merphy. She did say that I might have, I think she said that there were gonna be two because one of them I might have read. So we'll see in the message. I actually don't even know. She might have recommended a gothic book by Rebecca, oh no, not by Rebecca, but by the author who wrote Rebecca, because she did say that I should try that at some point.
Okay, this is your first recommendation message. My first recommendation, this is going to be a really big surprise, so hold on to your hat, is going to be The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scotland. I'm not sure if you've heard about it.
How did I not guess that? Oh my god. Also, I've been putting that on my TBR since like 2016. I just never got to it. I am just starting on many different fantasy, like high fantasy series, so screw me, I guess, but that's fine.
But I kind of like it. So think like Ocean's 11, Leverage, Oliver Twist, but better than them all. So it's a very character-focused story. It's a very slow and confusing and dry beginning. So you're gonna hate the beginning.
Nice.
But it gets so good. There's incredible friendships. It's a bunch of orphan boys who have come together to become thieves and swindlers and cutthroats, and they're trying to pull off this massive heist. But it's also found family and incredible friendships and really high stakes and very, very, very clever characters that are also dum-dums so often. It's good, dude.
Okay, yeah, I should have guessed that. And it's about time I read it as well, so that's all good. I'm just processing, okay, because this is maybe more than I bargained for for a secret project that I do behind the scenes. There we go, another chonker, that's fine. Over 600 pages. Fine. But it does sound really, really good, and I can see why it was suggested as well. And again, I have all of these books, so I obviously wanted already to read them. So, okay, next one is Jade. Now, this one I can't predict. I'm pretty sure she's gonna say Greatcoats. I don't know if that's the title of the first one, but I'm like 95% sure that she's gonna say Greatcoats.
Hello. Firstly, thank you so much for letting me pick a book for you to read. I'm really excited to be able to do this because this is an opportunity for me to push one of my absolute favourite books on you, one of my favourite series on you. And really, if you thought anything other than this particular book was coming, I would question why you would have thought that, to be honest. Because of course the book that I'm picking for you to read is Traitor's Blade by Sebastian de Castell. We all know Sebastian de Castell is my favourite author, and you haven't had the best luck. I think you tried Spellslinger and you didn't have the best luck with that one, but you thought that you might enjoy his adult stuff more.
Also correct.
I really hope that you might enjoy his adult stuff more. It's definitely quite different. I'm going to be really sad if you don't like it.
Oh, no pressure.
You know, our friendship will survive. But Traitor's Blade is the first book in the Greatcoats series, which follows a band of Greatcoats. The king has died prior to the books, and the Greatcoats, who are the king's magistrates, not quite knights, but they uphold the king's law. The Greatcoats have been disbanded after the king has been murdered. And our main characters, Kest, Brasti, and Falcio Valmond, love him, have been reduced to working as bodyguards and like hired mercenaries, and they get roped up into some sort of murder plot, a bit of a conspiracy. That's the plot of the first book, but the plot of the overall series is each of the Greatcoats performing their dead king's last wish. So each Greatcoat has been given one final act to perform from the king before he died, and it's the journey of them fulfilling that last wish. That's the overarching plot. But yeah, it's my favourite series, so I really hope you enjoy it. The second book is my favourite of the lot, but you know, I have to tell you to start with the first one. So I really hope you enjoy it. It's not too long, so hopefully you'll manage it and it's all okay and I haven't been too torturous to you. But fingers crossed you like it. I really hope you do. Have fun, I guess, and thank you for letting me force you to do this.
That's the one I don't have, so I will be getting that soon. I'm excited. Like, I did read the Spellslinger, did not really vibe with it as much as most people around me. However, it was fairly easy to read, and I watched the interview that Jade did with the author, and the author seems really cool, so I'm very, very excited to read that. And again, it has been on my radar, so it's about time. We knew this would happen either way at some point. I'm scared because Jade will be sad, as she said, if I don't like it. So that's not great, but hopefully I do. Hopefully I do. Me and Jade, we've said this many times, like, we do have very different taste. It would be great if this would be one of the ones that we do like both of us. So, and then lastly we have Anissa. So, for her, I genuinely don't even know. I don't even know. I have a feeling that she could have trolled and given me like a smut book to read. That would not be unheard of. Definitely something with romance, but also fantasy romance. But I genuinely don't know what it's gonna be. Like, I really, really don't know. Okay, so, let's listen.
Hi. Okay, so the book that I want you to read is The Kiss Thief by L.J. Shen.
What?
I'm very curious to know what you think of this one. It has things that I think you don't like, so...
Of course. It has things that I think you don't like. Just cackling in the background. Perfect. Never heard of it. Okay. But even from the title, it sounds like there's gonna be definitely like a strong romance something. This is a contemporary romance. That's... Okay, it's a new adult. So basically, I was correct. Okay, interesting. Very interesting. Will definitely be a change of pace from the other books. Exciting. Scared. I'm scared of everything here. Then I'm starting 4 adult high fantasies. So there's a lot to go through. Thank you to my friends for giving me this challenge and cooperating and just putting me on a journey. We are on a journey now. But that's the gist of it, and I will see you when I start reading these.
Much, much, much later.
Hello, it is November actually, so it's been a while, but I am prepared to hopefully tackle this in... Why is this moving so much? Tackle this in November. Now, whether that is possible or not is a different story, seeing that I read a whole of a single book in the last month and also August as well. I guess we will see, but the first one that I've started is The Lies of Locke Lamora. Look at how shiny. This is Merphy's recommendation. I know this is one of her favorite series of all time, and I had this book since so long ago now. It's honestly a shame that it's still not read. It's very telling. But I did start reading it, and I was kind of like laying in bed and I had my audiobook while I was reading it physically, because I knew I definitely need to do 2 of these things together, otherwise I will not follow it. And Logan was nearby, so he actually enjoyed it a lot as well whilst I was listening. So far, I really enjoy it. Obviously, it tickled Logan as well, because he's been basically saying, don't listen to this without me, so we're gonna do it together. That doesn't happen very often, so I'm assuming it sounded good to him. So the story is about Locke Lamora, a boy, we meet him as he is an orphan, basically taken under this, it's like a trade master, thief master, the head of a guild, like a thieves guild. He's trying to sell him to someone else because he has been trouble, and we're trying to learn what he's done. Then there's another perspective where we follow him as he's in his late, maybe early 20s. I imagine it to be like 25, 29. I just put stuff in my own age normally, so I don't know if that could be me, but pretty sure it's like at least 24. And we swap between those two perspectives. I really like the humor in this. I have actually laughed out loud, but I don't know if that's because like Logan was nearby as well, so it's kind of enabling. I do think that it's quite humorous. I really enjoyed some of the jabs and the banter here, which I knew that it will be something along the lines, and I was excited for that part. I will say it's a little bit hard to follow sometimes. It's definitely not the easiest to get into in the sense that things do seem confusing to me, but not so that I have to give up. And I do think it's just going to be clearer and clearer as you go. Plus, it really hooked me. Like the beginning, the first chapter, like the prologue, I think even, it really, really hooked me. So I was sold. So very positive here. This is maybe the one and only time that I actually prefer the kids' perspective, the kids' chapters, the younger Locke's chapters, as opposed to the older ones. I am hoping that's gonna change, but so far the older ones are the ones that are a little bit confusing because Locke is also pretending to be a noble that goes under a different name, and the narrator refers to him as a different name, and other people that I've not visualized in my head too clearly as it is also go under different names, and I'm just like, I don't know who's who. I just don't know anymore. I am currently, I believe, on page 130, and I'm at the point where I'm not as peaked, so I really, really need to continue before I lose my motivation, because that happens sometimes, and I don't want this to happen, so hopefully we'll get back on track with that. But I definitely am enjoying it. It's been a good time. And then very different note, trying to kind of mix it up a little bit, so I've went with Anissa's recommendation, which again, to remind you, was the only one to recommend something that they suspected I would hate for her own entertainment, surely. Which is totally fine, totally fine. And so that is The Kiss Thief. I am like 40 pages in, so not too far on my Kindle. And boy, there's some stuff here that just makes me go, ooh. And then the audacity of men in this series, this book, so far, and I'm not even that far in. It's infuriating, but you just gotta laugh, you know? It's a very interesting setting. It's like a very, like, choices were made. We follow a main character who's this kind of like a money laundering guy, like he's a really big deal in the States. This is all set in America. I think the family is Italian, which you talk about stereotypes. Then there's this other guy who's like, I think a governor or something, and he basically forces her father to promise her to him. I'll say it's very entertaining. However, it's very easy, and there's some unexpected, almost shock value stuff, which is the guy talking about his dick, and in the most self-indulgent, thinking he's the god inner monologue that's like unironically being, it's just a journey, and I am kind of ready to get into it and go on and see what happens. No promises that this one will be finished, but I am here for the entertainment, just gonna let go of everything else and go with the flow. Two very different vibes, which I was expecting, but honestly I did not know what to expect. This was a weird one. So this is a guy who wants to become like the president of the United States, and this is like a girl of like very known, was like a mafia guy, and the worlds collide. Hello. I have finished The Kiss Thief. So that's where the good news ends. Okay, so first of all, it wasn't for me. However, as that was the prediction of Anissa, it technically is a success. It is of more of like a sexual manner. If you don't want to listen to that, totally fine. Skip to like this, whatever I put the text. But if you're here for the tea, first of all, I am going to make soup because I feel like my body, my soul needs comforting. It needs something to wrap me in a blanket after what I've just experienced. Which this is very appropriate considering what we're going to talk about. I already told you what this book is about, I think. And it's very much a hate to love, but like to the max. I think that the synopsis makes it sound like it's going to be a love triangle, but it really isn't. The characters were flatter than what the flat earthers think that the earth is. It's like one of those panty liners when they turn it up in sideways, you just cannot see it. Oh my god, my eyes are gonna water from this. Okay. Apart from the girl crying all the time and the guy talking about his dick all the time, they literally had no person. That was the personality. So the main guy is a massive alpha trope. So if you do love that, you might enjoy this. Although I would say there were a couple of things that really were the ick. I don't mind that I actually quite enjoy some of the romance books. I mean, I've not read that much, so I can't really comment. Holy shit, my eyes. But genuinely, I feel like it's fun. But what isn't fun, a guy who is the biggest hypocrite in the history of literature or literature. Actually, that is an unchecked fact. I don't know, maybe this is like a thing. I really am not super versed in it, and if someone finds that attractive, that's super fair, but I just felt like it was so degrading, and it was like, he was one of those like Casanova guys that I honestly found it hilarious. Like, this book was actually pretty hilarious to me. He was like so wanted that all of the girls would actually like queue up and want to like be with him and do anything just for the slice of him. The point where someone sent underwear in the mail, and I'm like, sure. And he's known to like literally slept like everyone in, like, I think it was Chicago, but every single time that he also unfoundly, like, it was literally falsely accused the main girl of sleeping with someone, he would go so extra, like basically telling her how she's dirt and spoiled goods, and she would even refer to herself as like, I am compromised, which I understand it was like a whole like family thing, but so basically she lied that she wasn't a virgin at first and that she like slept with someone just because like I don't know reasons, and that's like a reoccurring theme. Like, he's very nice to her when he thinks that she's being faithful, I guess because they made like this agreement. As soon as something goes south, like, he turns into such a malicious person. I do not understand how this was like resolved. I would be afraid to be around this man. I would be so far away. You could not catch me with a fucking drone. It's just weird, and I was just confused. Even though this was a book like obviously very focused on sex, and not ones that I actually really got into it, because it was always icky in some shape or form. Also, I just really didn't buy their relationship, and they were so flat that it was just like watching two bricks like rub against each other. Like, it was just like no personality apart from like these tropes. Maybe some people are into brick play, and it was very uncomfortable, especially like the first time. It was just the way that it was done. It was really, I mean, they made it always a point that he would never like force her to do anything, and I guess we should appreciate that. She like started liking him because he would have allowed her the basic freedoms. That's how low the bar is. He didn't lock her and allowed her to go to school, like to college. What a star. I don't want to say, because like technically it's a spoiler if you do want to read this, but it was very uncomfortable. Another thing was like that they had quite an age difference, while like they're technically both adult. I mean, they got married and stuff, so they're both like legal. It was that he just didn't let us forget it. Like, he would constantly refer to her in his mind, because it's two like POVs and perspectives, as like my teenage bride, and like, oh, she was acting like such a teenager, she's being her teenage self. And the father was like, oh, my teenage daughter, and I'm like she was 19 in the book, and he was like 30. So that part was just like unnecessary. I think the most hilarious thing about this book for me was the main guy's, like, first of all, he's so delirious and really needs help. Like, genuinely needs help. I know that the book also tried to create some sort of, like, you know, he's acting like this because of this trauma. But, you know, having trauma doesn't give you a card to cause trauma. No. Set up to have like a deeper meaning and whatnot. I just really couldn't take it seriously. I'm sorry. I know this book is also like quite beloved. Like, the ratings are really high. I think it's like 4 stars average, and with like 34,000 ratings or something. So like, it's just obviously I'm not the target audience. Which Anissa knew, but was still like, do this because I want to see you suffer. In every situation, no matter how unrelated, he would bring up his dick. Literally. And also her vagina. It was just like, I was like, just give me a break. Like, one of these moments we were actually like having a little bit of like an emotional thing happening. Like, this was like the first time something meaningful like happened, and I was like already 200 pages in or something, and he still brought up like how he would like to insert his dick into her vagina. Constantly. It was like such a point for him to make sure that everyone knew he never wanted anything else to have with her, apart from maybe at some point thrust himself into her pussy. Well, it's over, we're good. I will say that the book went really quickly because it was just such a ride. I just never knew what to expect, again, because I would think that we are in this type of situation, and suddenly there's dick references, and suddenly there's that. The whole plot was driven by jealousy. And there were no motivations apart from jealousy. The jealousy was the driving factor. You know, when you get to the point of the book when it's like 70% in, and you have like, you know, everything is going well, but you know that there's gonna be a big hiccup, like the main hiccup, and then that's gonna be resolved and you're gonna have the happy ending. The hiccup made me so mad. I literally paused and stepped away from the book. I was like, are you kidding me? The overreaction. I don't think I can even put this down to miscommunication, because I genuinely feel with these characters, even if they communicated, it just wouldn't help because of the way that they do communicate. It was a time. So yeah, fam, not for me, but that was the point of this recommendation, that it will not be for me. And that was correct. Again, I know a lot of people like this book, so if you're one of them, this is in no way, shape, and form me coming at it or anything. Just my opinions and feelings. At one point, actually not even at one point, at several points, this guy was saying that because something happened, he's gonna basically punish her and never let her please him or something. And I'm like, do you think that you have some sort of very sought out commodity? Do you think that's a punishment? This guy is delusional. I've not read it by Copile, but I'm pretty sure it will be 1 star. I'm gonna go make my soup and sort my hair, but on to the remaining things, I think, with me.
Jean kept himself 2 or 3 feet under Locke, and they descended steadily, 1 foothold or handhold at a time.
Good morning. I wanted to update you quickly on the reading of The Lies of Locke Lamora. Currently on chapter 11, page 416, so moving swiftly. Other than there being one bit suspension of disbelief, but I got really frustrated by a decision made by a certain someone in regards to certain someone, because I just thought it was so uncharacteristically reckless that really stopped me, and I had to like moan a little bit and ramble preamble with Logan, who did agree with me at the end there. I made my case. Overall, though, I'm still really enjoying it. I think it is a very clever read. I think it's really super enjoyable. I do think it's helping me because I'm reading with Logan, because he always is like, do you want to listen to the audiobook? Do you want to read? Because I read it physically, but I listen to the audiobook next to him. So it pushes me to go forward. Prose is beautiful and it's so masterfully done, I think. I love the humor, I love the jabs everyone's making, I love the darkness in this. We've just experienced some pretty severe loss, which actually did make me kind of go like, oh. I mean, I didn't cry, but I did definitely went like, oh. It makes it even more so real, you know? The way that it's going, I think we're gonna be done with it pretty soon, so going well.
A few moments later.
The Lies of Locke Lamora. Also finished it. If I didn't say that, I really can't remember. I think I did. Once you get to the halfway point, I feel like you pretty much know the type of direction, the type of book, the type of writing, and what to kind of expect at the end, and it honestly kind of delivered as to what I was expecting it to deliver. I still have that one thing that like picks at me, the convenience thing, the oversight, the someone was supposed to do that didn't, that led the characters, mayhaps some of the characters, to survive. I am though pleasantly surprised by the amount of actual consequences and death that we do have here, because otherwise it would have been much worse. And it wasn't. It was great. I actually really, really loved it. I loved the prose, I loved the humor, the sass. I thought the characters were very well done as well. I feel like I kind of knew a bit about pretty much everyone, apart from characters that I really did not need to know a lot about. And that is a massive plus, because I hate putting effort and energy into things that don't actually matter. So oversharing when it comes to side characters that do not necessarily mean anything is always, don't you dare. He's sniffing the vase that Logan's mom gave us, and he can smell the dog. I don't want him to get into this habit of pushing things so that I can only have plastic shit on my windowsills and stuff, so please don't. And there was some devastation in regards to some characters that I think pretty much everyone liked, but that's the kill your darlings, isn't it? Like, I feel like every time you like someone a lot and it's not a YA novel, you're like, prepare to say goodbye. Which this do as well, which is a little bit predictable maybe, but and even though it didn't actually focus on atmosphere that much when it comes to the writing, once I was reading this, I actually realized that I saw everything very clearly, even though we didn't spend a lot of time discussing how things look like, and that is the sweet spot. So it actually got a really high score of 9.5 for atmosphere. Writing got a 10. Because I think I'm really a fan of this. I am really a fan of this. It's very different from anything else that I've read, but in no like specific way that is like odd or weird. Like, you know how Christoph puts a lot of footnotes or writes in like very, in my opinion, unnecessarily complex way. This wasn't like that at all, but it was elegant yet, you know? I also really enjoyed the balance between dialogue and paragraphs. That might not be a big thing for a lot of people, but for me it really is. I don't think the pacing was put in a way that like grabbed my attention that much, but I was always more than happy to return, if that makes sense. And then enjoyment was a 9. It literally came to 9, which is the very lowest a 5-star can go, but it's a 5-star read. So we have ourselves a 1-star read and a 5-star read, and both are accurate predictions because Anissa gave it to me thinking I'll hate it, and I did. And the rest of the group, including Merphy, gave me a book that they either just wanted me to read for selfish reasons, what I think. It could be a little bit of Merphy here, I don't know, it's only her favorite book. Thought that I would really like. So, I've moved on to AG's recommendation, which is Sword of Kaigen. Now, oh my god, I'm a little bit nervous about this one. The first couple of chapters were great. I was like, oh, this is so different writing style wise from Lies of Locke Lamora. This actually felt a little bit easier to read. It felt a little bit more chattier because there's a lot of dialogue here, which I do really like. And the setting is also very unique. But I'm a little bit worried because all of the reviews online seem to be amazing. I had to like physically sort the reviews to see the lower ones to see if anyone's thinking what I'm thinking. I still don't know. Like, I found a lot of reviews saying that once you get a bit further, because it's a very like slow start or something, it will get a bit better. But I'm on chapter 6 and I'm struggling a little bit. I think I also stopped at this point where I don't really want to, like, there's nothing calling me back to continue this, what I'm so sad about. But I do know there's so many great reviews, so hopefully I will fall back into it, because that happens a lot. I think I said that me and Logan were listening to The Lies of Locke Lamora, and we're also continuing to read this together as well, and he's feeling a similar way, so a little bit, I feel so bad because I really want to like it. But currently, it's dragging a bit. It is dragging. I'm afraid to actually even tell you what this is about, so I'm going to actually read a synopsis because I don't want to misread this one. On a mountainside at the edge of the Kaigenese Empire lived the most powerful fighters in the world, warriors capable of rising the sea and wielding blades of ice. For centuries, the fighters of the Kusanagi Peninsula have held the Emperor's enemies at bay, earning their treacherous spit of land the name Sword of Kaigen. Born into Kusanagi's legendary Matsuda family, 14-year-old Mamoru has always known his purpose: to master his family's fighting techniques and defend his homeland. But when an outsider arrives and pulls back the curtain on Kaigen's alleged age of peace, Mamoru realizes that he might not have time before he has to become the fighter he was bred to be. Even worse, the empire he was born to defend might stand on a foundation of lies. Misaki told herself that she left the passions of her youth behind when she married into the Matsuda house. Determined to be a good housewife and mother, she hid away her sword, along with everything from her days as a fighter in a faraway country. But with her son asking questions about the outside world, the threat of invasion looming on the horizon, and her frigid husband grating on her nerves, Misaki finds the fighter in her crawling its way back to the surface. So what synopsis explains is pretty much what I've read. Like, was the kind of like the intro. I mainly so far focused on the boy kind of realizing that maybe what he's heard about him and his heritage and everything that they are taught in this like school on top of a hill that sways with wind, which is really cool, is a lie. That it's propaganda, or it might be propaganda. I'm on like 100-page mark, so I think the next chapter is actually back to the mother. I am more interested in the mother side, so I'm hoping we spend a little bit more time there, and hopefully I get the hook, because so far I don't have a hook, and I'm like, something's missing from the first like 100 pages. I'm not really yet intrigued, and I'm very, very sad. But I guess we'll see. I'm probably hoping to do a little bit more reading today. I've just come out of a big migraine attack, so it was a bit useless in the last couple of days, but update on life, not really, update on reading. I am on page 200 and I'm still a little bit struggling. It's very, very descriptive. We did have a couple of chapters recently where there was a little bit more character to character build up. I found that I can understand the connection a little bit more. I am feeling a little bit more part of the story. There's a lot of like repetitiveness, quite like literally. I mean, the dialogue sometimes seems to just go back to what's already been said to like reiterate it. I do remember those couple of reviews saying that really picks up at like 250 mark. So I'm definitely gonna give it a go for another like 100 pages maybe. And see maybe from there. I'm just kind of bummed because I don't know. I thought this is gonna be, the world is very intricate and you can truly feel like you're in there. It's very believable. It's super. I really enjoyed the propaganda aspect. I like the inner turmoil added. The representation of sexism and misogyny, even like internalized from the mother's perspective, makes you want to claw someone's eyes out, not necessarily yours, but someone's eyes out, because it's so frustrating. Again, feels believable. So I enjoy those parts, but there's just something that's just not clicking. It doesn't make me want to like delve back in it. I'm not that invested, which pains me to say, but I'm just not I'm not hyped to get back. I'm not interested into what happens to the characters. Like currently, I don't really care. So that's a bit sad. On the positive and somewhat exciting news, I've started the Greatcoats. I'm reading it on my Kindle, but I also have an audiobook, so I'm just gonna show you the picture here. I am currently on chapter 6. Actually, I don't think it's correct because I continued without the audiobook for a bit, so I might be a bit further, but I am like 60 pages in, so not a lot at all. But I'm already loving it. I love the humor. I love the dynamic between this like found family, like little group of 3. There's 3 people so far. We already have this like dishonored knight kind of thing because they're called like, it's not turncloaks. They were basically, Greatcoats are the king's guard. Like they're very prestigious kind of bodyguards or guards in general. But because they have let their king die and they stood aside when the coup was happening, now they have this reputation that they're just not trustworthy. They're like the lowest of the low. Like there's no honor to you. We still don't know why exactly that happened, but we follow 3 characters and go back to the main character's backstory and how he met them and how that all relates. And there was this moment of PTSD when the main character was fighting someone that I got goosebumps. I thought it was so interestingly and well done. I really love it. I love the writing style. I love the atmosphere. I got like, this is the kind of difference. Like it calls back to me to keep reading, but I want to focus on this because if I don't, I just won't. Greatcoats so far is a hit, although I had this before when I would be very excited about the beginning and then I would lose interest gradually. So we'll see how this happens. Clearly I have a fickle mind and my attention can fly out really quickly and also it cannot stick very easily. So I am aware that I'm that kind of reader, but so far so good on the Greatcoats, which is very good because I did not enjoy the other book. What was it called? Spellslinger. Right? I didn't love it where everyone else around me did. So this is very promising and I was very worried about this one. I am, however, also worried about Assassin's Apprentice because I hear that even Codie said that it was really, really slow at the beginning and that the first book was not her favorite. And then AG also predicted that I will not like it. It's worrisome.
7 hours later.
Okay, I have crawled out of my blanket fort in my bed to give you an update. I spent this evening, so far it's like 8 o'clock, it's 8:30, continuing with Sword of Kaigen. Unfortunately, I think it is time for me to call it. I am on page 300 and I just cannot... There are a couple of things that really is just not my thing. Let me try and sum up a little bit as to why I have actually read some of the 1-star reviews to just feel a bit validated because I was feeling really crazy. I was not sure what I'm missing, but I think it's just simply not for me. And I honestly think it's not a good book for me. In general, I don't know. Clearly people are loving it, but I just really don't think it's a good book. List just a couple of things. I'm sure I will remember things more later, but just the stuff that comes to mind. Holy shit, the exposition. I understand anytime we're going into an epic fantasy, I'm not new to epic fantasy. Some of my absolute favorites are epic fantasies, but boy, was this info dumpy. I think that was the number one reason people quit early on. The reviews that I've seen of people who stopped at like 10%, 15%, 20%, 8 times out of 10 because of the info dumpiness. So I know I'm not alone in that. Even there were some scenarios where we would get 5 pages of like a story of a world building, little bits and pieces, like, and we would finally kind of finish and then the character within the story would be like, tell me more. And I literally was like, oh God, don't tell me more, like not right away. But it wasn't just that time, it was actually quite often that would happen. I am talking about this as someone who's not naturally a very fast reader. So obviously this is very relative. For some people 200 pages is whatever. For me, that is a lot of time. It's not even so, it's not a pacing thing, it's balance thing. I don't mind slow books. I actually quite enjoy slow books. A lot of my favorites, once again, are slow books. I'm 300 pages in, so I really think that I gave this a very fair chance. If not for the project, I probably would have given it less of a chance, but I really, really wanted to like it. Then we did have a couple of chapters, a couple of things happening within between the characters that brought me a bit more into the story, a bit more, okay, like if you got hurt, maybe I would care a little bit, like we're getting there. But I think that was taken away by repeating themes. I thought that they were very on the nose because of the repetitiveness. Specifically, the whole woman theme. Because in Kaigen, women are just baby machines. Especially by most of the men in the story, they're treated as tools with no opinion, to just obey, do the housework, raise the kids, that's it. Like, even a concept of a woman in some type of authority or power is disgusting and repulsive to them. I found it very, very hard to root for these men. Our main character is obviously surrounded by his uncle, who is supposed to be like a little bit nicer because he's not a total asshole. Well done. His father, who is, I'm pretty sure would be probably redeemed a little bit, who is the absolute worst. Even though Kaigen is very isolated, obviously it's grown in this whole propaganda thing, which again plays a very heavy hand in the whole story, and is I think things are broken down for the reader in that kind of aspect a bit too much. Not only will they make sure that you understood something, like if you see a woman fighting, they'll be like, that's a woman fighting, or if you see propaganda, someone is going to also say it. So it's not just show, it's also tell. It's both. And a lot of the time, it's both, like 5 times in the span of 50 pages. Piling on the same themes very, very heavily. And I was really, really wanting to like the woman. And I understand the inner conflict, especially with being raised differently, being society, being different, assigning different values. But I found it very disjointed, this idea that she understands her capabilities and she's been outside. Her inner monologue is just like, no, but I'm a woman, but I'm a woman. I was like, my lady, you've been outside. You know what you can do. You know how things are. I don't understand this regression. Very frustrating to read because I understand the message being sent through that, because obviously everything is like internalized and it's not as easy, and it's not like once you do this, like it should, you know, you're gonna be forever there. Like, no, but the extent of doubt and her constantly putting herself down for 300 pages with no progress, while simultaneously knowing that she can kick ass, was really odd and did not line up in my head. And then the last big point, the fact that I would say easily 60% of the book is fight scenes. Really enjoy fight scenes in animation form. I really enjoy fight scenes in TV shows, especially with like awesome epic music and soundtrack. What I don't enjoy is extensive fight scenes and descriptions in books. That's too much for me. Well, it's not too much for me, but it's not enjoyable. I don't get off on that. The fact that it wasn't just a couple of long scenes, that which, you know, always happens, there's barely any books without it. And that is fine. And some of them are really epic and I love them. Honestly, 60, maybe even 70% of this was fight scenes or training scenes. It's very military, kind of like warrior base, warrior revenge type of thing. I think that is very far from what I enjoy, which makes me really worried about Rage of Dragons and actually makes me not want to pick it up, because I know that was my main worry about it, even though I really wanted to read it and like it. But I am worried after this because if you love that kind of thing, though, you might really love this. Obviously, there's so many people that love this book. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, so I'm very sad. But actually, we have the first DNF, which is amazing because I didn't DNF The Kiss Thief. And I'm DNFing this. But that one was so easy to read. And again, it was like watching a catastrophe happen. You just can't look away. Whilst this was like watching a snail travel for days. I was about to say if a snail was also like learning to fight, but that would actually be pretty cool. It was not for me. Feel free to unsubscribe, hit the dislike button, leave a mean comment. It's okay. My intrigue on a Copile scale is literally probably sat at 1 or 2. And that is just too low for me to continue. Hi, it's very chilly. Winter is here. I can't believe I started this project way back. But I wanted to quickly update you while I look into what to change to. And I have finished the Sebastian de Castell one. And I really enjoyed it. It was such a pleasure reading it. It was so like easy and fun. And I really just had such a good time. It came out as 4, I think, very, very high 4 stars. So almost 5, but not quite. There was nothing particularly wrong with it either. It just didn't quite hit the mark, but it was awfully close to it. I will 100% be continuing with the series. I really am excited to see how it goes. There was some like plot twists as well that were not necessarily like unexpected per se, but still somehow very satisfying. It just felt like nice. Like I was very content with it. I also really enjoyed the humor. I don't know how much I've mentioned that before or how much I don't know, I'm really behind this, but I like the humor. I like the piss take type of banter between the characters. There were some moments that I was, excited for things to happen. Some things backtracked, which is so common in most books, but this was one of those rare occasions that I actually was very glad that it did backtrack because I did not want harm to come for that specific character, at least just yet. So 4 down, 1 more to go, but well done, Jade. You have predicted correctly. I did indeed very much enjoy this, which is great. I thought I will update you because I haven't, but I have started our final stop of this project, Codie's suggestion, which was Assassin's Apprentice. Why do I always want to say Queen's Assassin or something? No. Assassin's Apprentice. So I probably should have turned my camera on when I just started because there was some content to be made at that point, but it didn't. But to reenact to you how the first 10 pages have gone, help, something along those lines. I was so unbearably bored. I couldn't process a single sentence because I felt like the first 2 chapters encompassed this information and this information only. 1, our main character is a bastard of like a prince. 2, it's cold. That's it. That's it. I think I instantly just didn't have a good connection with the writing style, which obviously could be an issue. And I was just so incredibly bored and it sounds like not a lot, but it felt like a lot of pages. It was like, not a lot though, like 30. Come like page 30 or something, I got really invested. Like really invested, really quickly. Stayed invested. I am currently, I think, on page 140. In the meantime, I have traveled through this roller coaster of being invested, extremely bored, very invested again, very bored again, and invested again. There's like no consistency. I don't know what it is. Obviously, I still have a good ways to go, which I'm hoping to do today. I'm gonna listen to it while I cook. I'm gonna listen to it while I work on the Patreon letters. I am going to just do a lot of listening tonight. I don't know, I just found it funny. Like, okay, so what the book is actually about. I mean, a lot of you guys are probably familiar, but honestly, not much. This is supposed to be very character driven, which is exciting for me because I like books that are very much into character stuff. It is a single POV book, which again is nice. We're following Fitz, who is this nameless boy, but he is Chivalry's, who is that said prince bastard. Because the king doesn't want, a possible heir, even though like far removed, to be any type of threat, he wants to keep him close. He also is brought up by think chivalry is like, I don't know, someone who was maybe sworn to him. But he's like a stable master. He looks after the horses and the hounds and whatnot. And Fitz really gets connection with the hound, and then I think it is kind of explained to us, mentioned briefly, that he basically has this bond with the animals that is very frowned upon. So he is not to ever do that again. And he's like repressing that. Fast forward a tiny bit and we go and are summoned in the castle to live there and be taught there, hence like the king keeping him close, and he's learning to be an assassin. There's like this assassin-y t-shirt that comes in during the night. All of this happens really early on, so I'm not spoiling anything, don't worry. But that is kind of the gist. Hopefully update you soon with what's happening, but it's been a journey. Why? This sucks. Why do they have to kill them all the time? He died alone. I can't stop. I'm so alone. Okay, update. I'm on page 320, so I don't have an awful lot to read. I just saw an illustration in the back, but wasn't entirely sure what I just saw, and I don't think I'm gonna check, because that didn't look good. To wrap this up, because I feel like it's lasted us such a long time, but it's been a roller coaster. So thoughts and feelings. I am very lukewarm towards the book. It's not bad by any means. It's not great to me. This is a very, very like kind of detailed account of one person's life. We start from a very young age, which is fine, but then we stay with the character while he's also quite young for pretty much majority. I don't even know if he's like 15 or 14 now, I think, but still not very old, which doesn't help me. There's also a lot of periods where we just discuss things in such detail that I feel like is unnecessary. It's a little bit info dumpy. It's a very, very trudge along thing. But that for me mainly comes from like the world building, because I can live, laugh, love through character development and characters interacting with people when nothing is really happening. Like, I love that shit. It doesn't have to be action-packed, plot-heavy for me whatsoever, but it does need to have interactions with other characters, I think. Even if they're just sat there eating dinner, like nothing really exciting. I wouldn't call that fast pace, you know, but so when I say that it's slow, I mean it's slow in a sense that there's a lot of monologuing in between character stories. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm expressing myself correctly. There is an aspect to this book that is a little bit like school setting, which I did enjoy, which I wasn't sure that that's gonna happen. But what's pissing me off though, like some of these adults are acting so unreasonably that it's actually really frustrating. Like a lot of them are just completely absent, which seems convenient when things are happening that should be intervened with. They're placing this kid in situations knowing full well that things are set against him, doing kind of fuck all about it, which is really frustrating to see, because why would you put them in there with a outcome you want to see, knowing that it is unlikely to happen unless someone intervenes, and then they don't. Some other people like literally say, I will not be talking to you until this is over. And then we have Berg, who, again, I'm not gonna say anything specific, obviously, but like there's this such weird prejudice against the ability that this boy has, and what happened to unconditional parental love. I'm not convinced on that part. Although I know this is obviously a longer series and whatnot. It just seems a little bit convenient sometimes for the ways that we see stuff. Not to the character's well-being, though obviously he's going through times. But yeah, obviously some things happened that made me sad. If you know me as a reader, you'll probably know in what regard this happened, because I do not shed tears very often unless there's something specific happening. So if you know, you know. If you don't, I don't want to say, because spoilers, I guess. It's not really spoilers actually, it's animal related. Yeah, it just gets me, man. It really just gets me sometimes. But there's just like, animals are not very lucky in this series, let's just say that. And from what I've known about it, it's just not likely to stop in the future. So it is done. I have officially finished the last book in the project, which is Assassin's Apprentice. Okay, so final thoughts. The last like 100 pages, or maybe even like 150, I actually got very much more into it. I think because we took it to a different place and it was a little bit more streamlined and purposeful. I definitely had less of that outside story building or like world building, and more so being in the present with what's happening. And there were some plots and twists a little bit, and it definitely, I just felt more in it, and it made such a difference. The beginning of this was definitely hard. The stars did not quite align. By the end of it, I definitely feel like I know the character well. I want to know kind of what happens, and I do intend on continuing with the series. Maybe not immediately, but I also think not like super long from, I'm not gonna say that because who knows. I ran it through Copile and it came up as a fairly high 3 stars, it was 6.6. 3 stars and it's 6.9, so it's not really like 3.4 if we would be doing that kind of thing. So you know what, not bad at all. It's I hope, I mean, I don't know how it goes later on, but I hope it's possible. Feeling that maybe I've just done the heavy lifting now, and now that I'm more into it and I know more stuff, there's gonna be less and less kind of like info dumpiness in there, which is great. And hopefully then I will feel more like I felt towards the end of this throughout. I'm not sure if that's the case, let me know if it is. So that really concludes it. I wasn't really looking for any type of conclusion here, but it is fun to guess the most correctly. But my friends made it a little bit difficult because I feel like even those that suggested something didn't necessarily think I'm gonna love it. AJ did say that he was not 100% sure if this would be for me, especially because of the fight scenes, and he was totally right. It just was not for me. I honestly, at this point, I forgot that I read a whole of 300 pages. Bear in mind this is 420 or something, so it's like majority of that, and it's already kind of got like, it really did not leave much of an impact in my brain, which is ridiculous because most of the feedback that I've seen was that how emotional it was, which I just did not get. And maybe I'm broken, I don't know, but I mean, like, this did make me cry, so maybe I'm not that broken. So it was hard to rank them for who was the most right. Even Codie was like, I'm not sure how you're gonna feel about it, so I should have made people guess my ratings in retrospect. If I had to rank the books in general, I think the rating is pretty easy, apart from the bottom two. So the bottom two being either the Sword of Kaigen, because obviously I DNF'd the book, and then of course the Kiss Thief, because it was just, I'm gonna put the Kiss Thief last and then put the Sword of Kaigen. I don't know, you know what, they tie. In the 4th and 5th place, they come together as friends that are not related whatsoever. Then we would have to have the Assassin's Apprentice, which you know my thoughts all too well because you've just seen them. Very honorable 3rd place. Traitor's Blade. A really good positive surprise to me. Pretty high 4 star, and I'm really excited to continue with the series as well. I'm a big fan of Kest. I don't know if I've said that, but I'm a big fan of Kest. I have a feeling that Bast is maybe the favorite of most people, but I just really, I'm digging Kest. And I also really like the main character, which, you know, sometimes the side characters kind of overshadow the main ones, but oh, I forgot to tell you, oh my god, there was this one scene. It was the only sex scene in the book, but it was like a scene and it was just so weird. It honestly, it's not quite Wise Man's Fear level of weird, but I mean, it's up there. I remember I was listening to it because I put the audiobook, it was just for a little bit, like 10 minutes before I went to bed, and I was laying down in the dark. I had my lights off and everything, and I remember just like opening my eyes like this on the pillow and being like, what the fuck? What is happening? It felt like a completely different book, and it was really odd. It was a really bizarre Anyway, and then coming to the first place, apparently, which is Lies of Locke Lamora. There were definitely parts when I struggled a tiny bit with the density of the writing, like a tiny bit. But overall, it was delightful. I really enjoyed it. That being said, I will put it into perspective though. Traitor's Blade had a rating of 8.93, and then this had a rating of 9. So they were actually really close. This was the lowest 5-star you can get, but still a 5-star. I know this is not finished though, so I don't even know if I'm gonna be continuing now. And I feel like I've heard that the first one is the best, maybe? I need to rethink. So technically, I guess Merphy gave the best recommendation. Yeah, this was a fun experience. It was really a bunch. It was a bunch of different things happening, but it was really fun. I think overall it went pretty well, even though we did have a 1-star and a DNF. But yeah, I hope this was fun for you guys. As I said, I'm doing TB Avatar and the secret TB hours intermittently. I already have a bunch of stuff written down, but maybe you come up with something that I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna expedite that to do it like now, because it sounds great. Thank you so much again to my friends who were participating in this. I hope you will enjoy watching this, even if it wasn't the best experience from your books. Thank you, basically. And I also want to give a shout out to my new Patreons who either moved up a tier or have joined recently. Thank you so much. I really hope you have enjoyed this space so far. I want to extend the warmest of welcomes to Lisa, Kaliana, Laura, Ilse, and Leah. I hope I pronounced them all correctly. I probably didn't, but thank you so much for your support and for being part of the Mooney family. Thank you so much for watching. Alrighty, stay awesome, stay kind, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!